It gives us a place of solitude. It gives us a place to reflect on the issues we may be having, the readjustment back into civilian life.
Military veterans are among those fighting for new protections for Colorado wilderness. And they are honoring the World War II veterans who trained in these rugged mountains.
This public land is your land, it's my land. I like it to stay that way.
So Russian olive has long thorns. I'd say the most difficult part of killing Russian olive is not getting stabbed.
This invasive tree is really the pits, but the cavalry is here to restore access to the Escalante River for boaters and backpackers.
Beautiful out here, huh?
Grab your gear. It's time for another spin on this American land.
Hi, and welcome to This American Land. I'm your host, Ed Arnett. We've got some terrific stories for you this week on the conservation of America's natural resources, our landscapes, waters, wildlife, and the people that are dedicated to conservation across the country. Today we'll start in Colorado, on the Continental Divide in the Rocky Mountains, where outdoor recreation like skiing and mountain biking support a booming local economy, and where residents are supporting a plan to create new wilderness and wildlife conservation areas and our nation's first national historic landscape, honoring veterans of the Second World War.
It's beautiful out here, huh? Yeah.
Wilderness areas are the most untrampled places that we have of nature.
Hi, Grandpa.
It's the place where you could truly go and get away from society. My name's Garrett Reppenhagen. I'm the Rocky Mountain Director of Vet Voice Foundation. I came to Colorado and I fell in love with this place as a sniper in the U.S. Army that fought in Iraq. If it wasn't for places like this, I wouldn't be here today.
My name's Bradley Noon. I'm a 10th Mountain veteran. In my time in the service, I incurred personally a number of injuries, the most marked, I believe, being my traumatic brain injury.
So this is basically the footprint of Camp Hale that we're standing in. During World War II, we realized that there was going to be a fight in the mountains and that we needed to train up some soldiers to prepare for that fight. They chose this place outside of Leadville, Colorado, as the area that they were going to train soldiers to go fight in the Alps. The Continental Divide Wilderness Recreation and Camp Hale Legacy Act, it'll protect a large area all throughout the Continental Divide in Colorado, adding wilderness areas, recreational areas. One of the key things out of the 100,000 acres of this bill, almost 29,000 acres will be Camp Hale. And it'll create a special management area called National Historic Landscape, which will be the first of its kind, which emphasizes not only on the natural beauty that's around us, but also on the history of the 10th Mountain Division and how they use this place to prepare themselves to fight in World War II.
And bring some vets out and see what the feedback is, see what they think, and see how we run it. Coming out here into Camp Hale itself and surrounding wilderness areas, it gives us a place of solitude. It gives us a place to reflect on the issues we may be having, the readjustment back into civilian life.
These are the headwaters of the Eagle River. What I love about the Continental Divide Recreation, Wilderness, and Camp Hale Legacy Act is that it's so big, that even its name is big. To my right is the Holy Cross Wilderness area. My name is Susie Kincaid. I work with Wilderness Workshop in Eagle, Colorado. Our wildlands are disappearing really quickly. The desire for people to build here, live here, has put so much pressure on through rampant development. I think what's special about this bill is that so many diverse communities have had a voice. So we have snowmobilers here who may not have the same interests as hunters, who may not have the same interests as Nordic skiers, who also may not have the same interests as mountain bikers. And they use different types of terrain and different places, and all of that input needs to be considered.
Mountain biking is an incredible sport. My name is Ernest Sager. I'm on the board of directors of the Vail Valley Mountain Bike Association. Mountain bikers, we want our access. We want to be able to ride our bikes. We want to be able to recreate. And I think there's enough land and enough wilderness for everyone to really have the access that they want. We know as mountain bikers that we don't want to go out and ride everywhere. We want to ride on mountain bike trails and sustainable trails. And we want to make sure that there is land that's conserved for the future generations to come.
To give you an idea of how all this fits together, here's Vail and the Vail ski area. Up here, the Copper Mountain ski area is over here. The proposed act that we're supporting is this area through here. I'm Donnie Shevchik, senior guide with Paragon Guides in Vail, Colorado. Our main activities in winter are backcountry ski touring, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing.
There we go. That was fun.
Today, I met with a group I've had out before on a multi-day trip. They came in kind of neophytes, and I think they've really come to respect and understand the outdoors in winter.
It's really important to keep these areas protected, not only for those of us that just live here, but for other people that want to come and visit this state. It's a really amazing area.
The outdoor recreation industry is incredibly important. Our industry depends on this influx of people who want to enjoy the wilderness areas, the backcountry. If it was not here, I'm not sure very many of us would be here.
The area that we're in right now, the heart of the Rocky Mountains, is very populated. It has huge ski resorts, Vail, Breckenridge, Aspen. A lot of tourism and travel. In Colorado, outdoor recreation accounts for $29 billion of consumer spending. And with that, it also creates 229,000 jobs, year-round jobs, most of them. One of the things that we've done in populating our mountain states is that we've built sort of huge obstacles for the wildlife. They're called Interstate 90, Interstate 80, Interstate 70, Interstate 40, all the way from north to south. Those are giant barriers for the animals. So the land over I-70 will be protected. It's a land bridge that goes over a large tunnel. We have to create this balance between recreational use, summer and winter, wildlife and their needs, our outdoor industry, and still maintain and steward this land that is the reason everybody wants to come here.
Turkey hunting for me is a solitary hunt. I'm out here not just hunting the birds. I'm out here getting away, breathing again, getting the weight off my shoulder that I might have from my workday life, my stress. My name is Rick Seymour. I'm a United States veteran. I'm a grandfather, a hunter, and an angler. Hunting is what I've always done, and fishing, I don't do it just to go ahead and kill something, catch something. I do it for the peace and tranquility of myself. This wilderness area that is surrounding us encompasses part of the 660 million public land acres that we have in America. This public land is your land, it's my land. I like it to stay that way. I use the red arrow for my practice. With this bill, especially in the Camp Hale Legacy area, you have world-class hunting, the blue ribbon fishing. What more could you want? The people that come there are the tourists that help our economy. My own children, as an example, they take their kids to the forest where they belong, where they can go ahead and feel like that. It's so relaxing.
Over there? There's a dog. Here?
You know, I want to see the places that I swore to defend have a legacy and carry on for future generations.
Wow!
My son Ocean should have the ability to play and have fun in these spaces just as I did, and his children and their children's children. So I want to make sure that these incredible areas, these national treasures, are there forever.
Now we go to southern Utah to the Escalante River, a wild and untamed river that connects to the Colorado through spectacular redrock canyons. The Escalante, however, faces a major threat from invasive plants, and we'll see how conservationists are fighting the invasion to keep the river wild and free.
The Escalante River starts in the headwaters up in the Dixie National Forest. That part of Utah is very remote, it's very wild. It's just a deep, rocky canyon with a ribbon of vibrant green riparian habitat all the way from the town of Escalante to where it meets the Colorado River at Lake Powell. The Escalante is one of the least impacted rivers in the entire Colorado River Basin. Other river systems have dams on them. Other river systems have a history of overgrazing. In the Escalante, really the only stressor there is the invasive plants, in particular Russian olive. Russian olive is highly invasive. When it establishes along a riverbank, it forms an impenetrable buffer along that bank, and that's a problem for backpackers and boaters who can't access the river. But it's also a problem ecologically that really prevents the river from eroding and depositing material, a critical process for maintaining the health of the river.
The only way that we're going to be able to deal effectively with Russian olive invasion is by physically removing it, not only from places where it is invaded, like along streams, but in places in the landscape where it serves as a seed source to places that are vulnerable to invasion.
And so we're working with a partnership there to make sure we protect that river as one of the prizes of the Colorado River system.
I'll take it. There we go.
And it's hard work in really remote country.
Okay, we don't need this.
Don't forget your ears.
Is it total 12 miles?
Yes.
Guys, want to keep it going? Got a lot of hiking to do. Let's keep moving as much as we can. So where we're gonna go is down this slick rock, across the sand flats, down a sand dune, up the Escalante River. Have a good trip. And then we're gonna go up the Harris Wash confluence 2 miles.
We can't walk around, huh?
And our camp is gonna have this amazing rock formation on one side, and we just live up on the higher land mass opposite it.
It's a good hike.
Wow, look at how beautiful it is here.
The first day madness is always very hectic. There's a lot of things to do.
We've got a lovely backcountry water system.
You have to set up your water filter. You have to dig a little latrine.
Yeah, Grant came in early with his horses. He was able to move all of this stuff.
I've moved here in '75, and I have been exploring and then running trips since '91, and I watched the Russian olives go from none at all to completely closing off the river. And I had to start carrying an axe, and they just got thicker and thicker exponentially until we had to start riding in the river, and you couldn't cut them down fast enough.
The Russian olive has long thorns. I'd say the most difficult part of killing Russian olive is not getting stabbed. But I've had a thorn right here for over a year.
All set up. Got my little house on the prairie.
Maybe start cooking dinner in 15 minutes because it's getting kind of late.
Something to be aware of on the work site. Everybody can get their own tool set. We do suggest everyone take a handsaw. It's gonna be your #1 most coveted tool.
If we take 11 loppers, let's bring back 11 loppers.
Don't get too far away. We want to know where people are.
All right, let's go kill some things. It's quite the thing.
It's great to have wilderness volunteers because a lot of these people are taking time out of their lives, and it's great to see people restore this beautiful place and this beautiful watershed.
We're only a quarter mile from where the work site starts, so that's really ideal for our volunteer group trying to get there every day.
A lot of photo ops.
It's so beautiful.
So good.
Our prescription for this area is everything under 4 inches in diameter for a tree should be cut down at the base.
When we low stump a tree, we want to get within 1 inch of the ground. So starting from the littler ones, getting it close to the ground. Hopefully my sprayer works nice. Spray the stump as soon as you can so you don't lose it. Then move on to the next one.
How did it get here? Like most invasive species, Russian olive was brought over for erosion control.
The problem with invasive species is they outcompete all of the native plants.
Where these other plants are much more adapted to it, they work with it, they rely on the soil. This one just comes in and kind of takes over the soil.
And it totally disrupts the natural ecosystem that has evolved for millions of years.
Please toss everything you can in the water. Just get it off the bank so that when it floods, it'll take that debris downriver right into Lake Powell.
Oh, those are pretty wimpy. I want one that looks thorny and Russian olive-y.
So if you can't get through the willows and the cottonwoods to the river, make a what we call habitat pile. Hopefully a chainsaw crew will come down and cut these and make them much smaller.
Within the Navajo culture, water is life, so it's very important, at least for me, to keep myself involved within the natural environment, especially in the sense of water.
You're gonna hack those? Or?
Yeah, all of these here.
Oh, you're all set. I'm Rick Devine. This is my brother Dan. We're wilderness volunteers. Dan's retired, and I said, wow, I got a buddy now to do things with. So I signed up, and I wrote him an email. I said, hey, I'm doing this. You want to come along? I've been in a gym working at it, so I can stay with my younger brother. Look, you weren't doing this, you could be doing this at home. That's right. Our father raised us to be, ecologically minded. I can remember family trips where we would go out and collect garbage to clean the beaches and bring it back.
Uh-oh, he's caught. Yeah, I'm right. Okay.
That's why these are great. Keep the thorns out of my arm.
Got you in the back, though.
Yeah, it did get me in the back.
We're in the pile here.
We're in the pile.
You may be able to shout from one end of where you work to the other, but you can see the difference, and people you work with make it fun. But people come back. It's kind of like being an Army unit. There's camaraderie, esprit de corps.
It's gonna come right at you, just so you're aware.
Oh my God, it's in me. It's what I was killing.
It was a lot of fun. I got a bunch of scratches, got a little bit dirty, so it was my kind of day.
We're at about 80% in terms of the eradication, and we're shooting for about 95% throughout the entire watershed.
Here's one for you to cut, Steve.
The hope is that by removing Russian olive now from these invaded streams throughout the southwestern U.S., we will allow native species like cottonwoods and willows to once again reproduce naturally and extensively without future interference by Russian olive.
The Escalante River Watershed Partnership is a grassroots organization made up of federal agencies, state agencies, businesses, community members, and nonprofits. The partnership started in 2009, and it was centered around the idea of Russian olive. That was really our rallying point. And all of those different groups combined really create a force for protecting this place.
A healthy river system is one that has a full complement of native plants, native species, native fisheries, and wildlife. It's one with diverse and complex habitat. A healthy river is one that has its full range of different types of flows, from floods to low-season summer flows. If nothing was done in the Escalante about the Russian olive, you'd see a gradual but dramatic shift in the ecology of the system, and that river eventually becomes more like a ditch than a river system.
I think that you just come home every night to your tent with a really big sense of personal satisfaction because you know you've done so much for this amazing area.
To build public awareness and support for conservation, it's important that children learn about it in school and understand how conservation is based on science. There's a new revolution brewing in science classrooms with a new approach to teaching called 3D science. The idea is to get students and teachers outside, observing their own surroundings, and let kids' natural curiosity lead them to learn more. In Georgia, the Captain Planet Foundation is helping teachers make the transition to this new way of teaching science.
I tell my teachers that it takes a lot of heart to be a teacher.
So we need 10 mils.
And by heart, I mean bravery. And so the whole point for us is to see what's the health of this creek. And it takes a lot of heart to do new things. And so we really have to be brave about this. I'm Stephanie Miles, and I'm with the Captain Planet Foundation.
We're here in beautiful Jekyll Island with 60 teachers.
that yonder dress.
Captain Planet has planned and organized this workshop so that we could explore the environment, have the teachers learn how to use the environment for their classrooms, get the teachers and the students excited about outdoor education. My name is Terry George, and I'm an instructor with the Captain Planet Foundation.
So we're going to do the ball toss.
What I would like to do is have buy-in from my teachers.
So you've got some materials for you. You've got a stream bed. You've got a way to elevate it so you get some gravity drainage going on. Your job is to come up with some kind of an investigation. Then we're going to kind of take turns seeing how it goes, right, and see who has the best design.
It's important to start this early. It comes naturally to children. This is not something we have to force them to do. 3D learning, it's just what they do. They experience life that way.
I need you to divide up into 3-person teams or something approximating that. You are to sample this aquatic community and determine if it's healthy or not.
I do like to network a lot. This is actually my 5th workshop this summer. We need more bottoms of leaves. Like, that's where they hang out. I'm definitely excited that we could all meet and learn from each other, and then some of the teachers that really want to do this are finally learning how, and they're asking a lot of the veterans for their plans.
You are to remember and record individually everything you find, because you must identify everything you find.
The new 3D science takes the critical core ideas, which is the content, along with the science and engineering practices, and what's called the cross-cutting concepts, those concepts that cross over all disciplines, such as stability and change, cause and effect, patterns.
Oh, sweet.
He did say this was a juvenile blue.
It was? Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely not a fiddler. It's not.
So this station is called Plastic Soup. They all have plastics that were collected out of the Pacific Ocean.
The focus has become on real and relevant phenomenon. You know, the world is full of these amazing happenings, these amazing events. Anything from why is moss in the trees to why is it so sandy here in southern Georgia? And all of that's phenomenon, and all of that has a scientific explanation. And so you take the everyday thing and you get kids wondering about it. You get them asking questions and coming up with their own ideas, right? And then they go back and then they learn the science.
Top Chef, s'more edition.
We're going to make solar ovens. As we go through this process, I want you to be thinking about your science and engineering practices. And what cross-cutting concepts are we using?
So this is totally different than what any of my students came up with.
This workshop is very helpful because of the 3D science approach. It's fairly new to most of our teachers in my school and even to myself.
Stuffing in there.
Can we open?
I prefer to read notes, read books.
Okay. Wonderful.
And it helps me understand things, but most students today would prefer the hands-on approach.
Using the 3D learning, the students are no longer sitting there defining words and answering questions in the back of the chapter. They are now hands-on, doing explorations, doing their own research, planning their own investigations from what they know is a real-life situation or a real-life phenomenon.
What you are exploring is you're trying to determine if these items are going to sink or float.
I feel like students have to know how to problem solve, and I feel like critical thinking skills are something that's definitely missing across the board in a lot of classes. Like the first month of me teaching them is always an adjustment, because if they haven't had rigor or critical thinking in a lot of the other classes, they think I'm crazy. And they're like, why? Why can't you just give us the answer? Why can't we just read it? Because that's not how life works.
Our biggest reward is when our students have that lightning moment. They catch an idea or they learn something and it's so relevant that they take it with them even after that lesson and they bring it back to you. And I think through the 3D science approach, is allowing us to have more of those aha moments.
What you're going to do today is you're going to simulate what happens when we pave places and groundwater can't actually get to the ground.
We live in a world where for the rest of our life we're going to come up with solutions. We don't live in a vacuum. We live somewhere where we're going to have to be successful in our world, whatever that looks like. And so to be able to say, this is how I'm going to solve this problem, this is how I'm going to make this work, you want to teach them to believe in themselves and know how to do that.
Soil.
There you go.
There it goes. Woo-hoo!
Now, here's a look at some stories from our next show.
So I got cypress trees from knee-high up to 40 feet high. I was taking land that some people called wasteland. Well, there's no such thing as wasteland. You just got to find out what it's needed for, what to do with it. So I took land that was not developed, that you just could not produce on, and you couldn't do those things. But it was great for wildlife.
Because of the habitat, the wildlife is thriving now.
Farmers tried too hard to mess with Mother Nature. With some help from the federal government, they are trying to make repairs.
That's all for now, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on This American Land.
For more information about this program, visit thisamericanland.org and like us on Facebook.